What is this shift?
Well,
We can talk about our thoughts.
ready?
Ready.
Or are you still thoughting?
Oh, I was just wondering if you were still thoughting.
I'm always thoughting. Turning off the thoughts doesn't work.
All right.
Ready, set, go. Here we
Ready, set, go,
are.
and I start coughing for the first time this morning.
Yeah, it happens every time. You always cough right when I say ready, set, go.
Ready, set, go. Too excited. Too excited for my, clearing out all the junk that was before. And now we're ready to talk. Or
Here we
thought.
go. We're ready to thought out loud.
I don't know
All
if you
right,
can
thought
hear this.
shifters,
Shift thoughters.
welcome.
Welcome to our shift talking show.
Welcome, welcome.
We were just thoughting with each other this
Thoughting
morning.
about our tarot cards and shifting and El Diablo.
And the pentacles.
Yep.
Yeah. And what you all might be thinking about and wanting to hear what's going to benefit the most. That's actually the question that I asked the tarot this morning is like, what do the people actually want to hear? What's going to benefit them the most? And the cards that I pulled required some teamwork to to sort of translate. And so we're going to thought about it together here.
Here comes the shifty thoughts.
Gonna throw some shift around and see what we come up with.
Yep.
Yeah. So
So what were the cards? The cards that
the,
we get.
the cards that I got were the King of Pentacles in reverse, which was the pull of the day, and then the hidden energy was the Devil in reverse. And boy, was I excited when I saw those because I had no idea what I was looking at, especially in reverse. I
Yep.
was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be fun to try to figure out." But that's when I started hearing, yeah, you should talk about this with Elias and get get his thoughts on that as well. Um, but here's what here's what it is for you. Which for me, what it felt like was there's this because of what's going on in the world. There's this um, like it's this really prominent sense of lack and inability to access the things that we want to manifest. Um, like there's a lot of information about how to manifest your desires out there in the spiritual communities, and a lot of people feel like they're doing all of the right things, everything they're told, but of course you have to pay these people for more information or for the real truth. They're not going to give you that stuff for free. And so it's like you're only going to get access if you're paying for it, but that's you want the access so that you can pay for it, right? So it's like this constant, like it's constantly out of reach. And I think that that's the feeling that I was getting, is that it feels like what we want is just out of reach at all times, and it's frustrating to not know how to access this King of Pentacles and shift that perspective for ourselves. Um, yeah. So that's just for the King of Pentacles what I got. And I'd like to go, back and forth before I go on this long tangent about trying to figure out what the devil in reverse means as a hidden energy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the King of Pentacles just it's just what it is. Like it's that earthy, abundant feel. And then so you talk about lack, and that's kind of the reverse of it. The not being the master of uh, your own abundance. And if you think about, a lot of times we think of pentacles as money. You see the coin, but the pentacles is that earth. So like the abundance of earth, the abundance of the physicality of everything that's around us, and also not just the physicality, but almost like the action. There's an action behind the earth, um, or that kind of goes with it. Like you have to act in order to obtain. At least is how it. I think this is how it feels a lot of the times. You have to act in order to obtain the solidity of the earth. But I think we have to remember that we are earth. We are always abundant. We are like there is abundance in every single moment that is now. And I think there's such a beauty behind that feeling of being present, being in the now, and knowing that there is infinite potential right here, right now. And it's just up to us to shift that perspective and choose the path that we want to go down. And so I really like that it's in reverse, because it's almost like it's a lesson, like a teaching moment of, we look at this, we look at money, we look at the things that we desire in our life and how to achieve those things. But in reverse, it kind of shows that lack, that perspective of you aren't the king, you aren't the master of it. And there's that balancing act of, yeah, you are the king, you are the master of it, but at the same time, you're not. Because as you pursue those things, you're letting those things control you. And you're allowing those aspects of like this physical realm of of things be the master of you when you go out and pursue those things, and let those things drive you and control your actions. And not really necessarily that they're in control, but I think also that they are the driver, the purpose behind what makes us feel happy, what makes us feel good, what makes us feel in life. And there's an important aspect to that feeling in life, because that as we come into these bodies, these physical bodies, everything is earth, everything is feeling, everything is sensation. And we have to feel and sense and perceive through the earth, through the physical nature of life. And so there's a flow inside of that solidity as well. And it might be a very small, a very subtle vibrational flow, but there's still that exchange of energy. And we need to allow that sensation to flow through us. And so there's a balance, I think, to yes, being the master, the king of it all, and also not being the king of it all, letting the physicality have its own intelligence to itself. That's the thought that I have.
Yeah. I feel like the word that came up for me when you were talking was the being at the effect of what we experience from what we see, like not being run by it, but kind of, right? Like that's giving us the our actions and what we think we need to do to turn things around for ourselves. It goes along with the topic from last week, and in your senses being your guide rather than the spiritual. And I feel like having, like, speaking more to what you were saying, is having that the king would be having the mastery of that, which is a give and take, which is I mean, everything you do is for the relationship of a healthy kingdom. You are the you are the ruler, but you're ruling for the people, and it's the like the true master doesn't is like the servant of the people. So you're getting from your environment, from the earth, from not from the not from the chatter that you hear and the opinions of others, but directly from that thing that you want, the abundance that you want, the it's like what I tell people when they ask me about the medicine that they're about to interact with. I tell them ask directly, ask directly to that medicine that you're about to engage with, because you're not building a relationship with what other people have done in the past. You're building that relationship with the medicine that you're about to engage with. So ask them directly what you need to do to to achieve that desired result that you want with taking this medicine. And
I mean, ask the illness, ask the disease, ask the pain, ask the suffering.
right,
You know,
which the
what is it
the
teaching you?
the cure is always in the poison or whatever, right? The
Yeah,
disease. Um, so it's the same thing. You want to engage with how do we get with that thing directly, right? Learning to connect with. Tell me how to achieve my relationship with you. If it's with money, talk to the energy of money. Don't talk to other people about it. You got to build that relationship with the money, with the energy of money. Um, that'd be a good meditation to do, is to have that connection uh, with that, or have that interaction with money, the energy of money.
yeah, it'd be fun to do.
Yeah. Um,
Be a fun interaction.
yeah, or so whatever it is that you want, getting beyond the idea that you need to have certain things in order to get something else. Go to that something else directly and say, how do I get you? How do I resolve or mend this relationship that I've had with you, right? That's what I think.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it goes along with flipping it on reverse. Like when you when you feel like you're the king, the master, the controller of these things, you feel good and you're not often listening. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes you are, but oftentimes when we're up at the top, we aren't listening and seeing all the nitty gritty details. We see the expanse, we see the beauty of it all, but we don't see the dark parts of it. And I think that's the hard part behind it, is that we have to see those dark parts. We have to see the inside. We have to flip it over and be in the valley sometimes so that we can have the adjustment, the vision adjustment, to see those things that are in kind of the life. I mean, a lot of times the life is down in the dirt, down in the valley, not up high. And while the heights give you that beautiful vision, you want the life. And life is inside the darkness. It's growing down deep inside of us. And where are the roots growing? Where are the things nurturing the roots? And what's deep down inside of us? And I think that's really getting to know the our own inner self, is being in those dark areas, flipping that over and saying, what is my relationship to money, wealth, the the objects around us, family, whatever it might be that we're pursuing in life. What is my relationship to that? Well, how do I feel about these different topics? And And when these things come up, can I understand the story that I'm telling myself and recognize the story and the perspective as a story and not necessarily the truth or the hard set in stone aspect of it. It's just the narration. And it holds its truth, but it's also just a narration. And you can have, just like that saying, you can have, there's a million words for a picture. There are infinite ways to describe the current perspective that we're holding inside of ourselves. And can we objectify the subjective, the subjectivity of what we're holding on to?
For some reason, the devil in reverse came up as you were saying that. I felt like wanting to add to what you said. There is like there is this aspect of being in the dark. That's where you're gonna, you know, you want to shine light on what's in the dark. So persistence in these conversations, once you start interacting with this thing, you want to persist in the conversation and know and trust that you are receiving immediate answers to that. There, whatever thoughts are coming up, take those as the answer. um, as that, not necessarily the direct answer, but this is your access to that, is this immediate first thought that's coming up for you. Even if it doesn't seem related, even if it seems far off from what it is, follow it. Just let other thoughts come up. See what tangents you go on, because you're going to be shown immediately. We always get answered immediately on these things, and don't be afraid to be hearing what you hear, right? Because I think so many people are afraid of the dark, but that's where, or of the shadow, and of hearing all this stuff. That's where we need to access these things, is in how we interact with the shadow aspect of these things. uh, which, both cards being in reverse, what Elias was saying before we started recording this part, was that it kind of takes us into, out of the physical and into the spiritual, the thought of it, rather than rather than the having. It's because we have the lack. If what we're trying to shift the perspective of on both of these things is, you want to have you want to learn to shift your perspective of being that king and that master, plus what it is that's gonna that's that's gonna have you waver from that, or doubt your, um have it become, I think it's the fear of having that become a an addiction, a vice. It's going to change you or whatever. It's going to bring out the worst of you, um if you attain the thing that you say you want, right? So spending some time in the thought realm, which, what I said was, that reminds me of the from the Emerald Tablet, the the what is it?
Subtle is,
The subtle is more generous than the dense, right? So in the thought realm, you're always going to get more of what you actually get in reality, in the physical, at least. And it could be more generous, as in, it's more, you're more fearful than it actually is. It's like an imagined fear than uh than what's actually happening in reality, which is a big thing that trips most of us up. Or it could be like, you imagine you can imagine a lot bigger, dream a lot bigger than what you're willing to give yourself in the physical. So that's what came up, sort of going into the hidden energy part of the devil in reverse.
yeah. And I think like really looking at that the pentacle in reverse brings in the spiritual side, because you go from this earthy feeling to not earthy, the physical to the not physical. And I think there's so much beauty in being in that spiritual realm. And this is, and the way that I've come to see the spiritual realm is as this blueprint, this the creation before the creation, thought, the, like you were saying, the thought, being in that thought realm, those images, the imagination, the creative space that we have inside our mind, and also that comes from outside of us. We talked about this I think last week, but Rick Rubin was saying that there's creations that are out there waiting to be born, waiting to come through us. And are we going to give birth to those? Or are we going to let somebody else give birth to those? And I just saw this with just recently. Like, I've always dreamed of owning a CrossFit gym in this area, and it hasn't been done. I've been thinking about it for like 10 years and never acted on it. And then just recently somebody put up a CrossFit gym here. I was like, why didn't I just do that? But so it came through somebody else. Like that creation was ready to be born right here. And so I think that's really what we look at with these realms of, is this going to be, we're just letting our creative aspect free and getting away from this physical nature of things and getting to be whimsical and magical in our thoughts. And I think we were talking about this in one of our meditation meetings recently, where the vision that we hold is just as real as the things that we're doing that are coming to pass right now. But those visions need to be born and drive us to be into the physical realm. Like, we need to have those thoughts. We need to have those aspects of being creative and just thinking and disappearing in our own thoughts, so that we can bring the spiritual into the physical realm. And I think, like you were just saying, like, that's when we get away from this devil type space, when we get into those spiritual realms. Because what I see as the devil, or is the opposer, the person who's going to question, who's going to oppose things. And when we allow our mind to be free and just wander and be as magical and creative as it wants to be, the only questioning that's there is our own mind. It's the questions from the past of, like, failure, successes. We worry about those things, but we can also let go of those and change that and allow the spiritual to be as wonderful as we want it to be. And then and when we get into the physical realm, we're going to have that devil. We're going to have that pushback, that equal and opposite push, saying, are you sure you want to sure you want to do this? Are you sure this is right? And you're going to have that force pushing back on you. And eventually that force will break, and you'll keep trudging through whatever's physically in front of you. And it's our choice to say, are we going to trudge and push really hard against that? Or are we going to accept it and say, thank you for giving me these more thoughts, this more, I don't know, this understanding of what's really happening in the physical realm.
Our teacher, our alchemy teacher, Elian, calls that the snake in your ear. The opposer. Like, you were told, you were given the instructions on what to do, and then you have this, what's this little voice in your head, the doubt, the that's putting doubts and all this stuff. And are you going to listen to that little snake in your ear, or are you gonna follow the instructions? Um, because what happens when we don't listen to that, I mean, when we do listen to that little uh, voice, is that we do experience an eternal hell. Like we constantly punish ourselves for that thing that we listen to. I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have, if I only would have. And then we just add to that, we add to that uh deservingness, whether or not like, man, this is gonna ruin it for everybody that comes through me after this, right? I have now birthed this this legacy of, from my mistake, that's going to have to pay for it after, because of everything. And this is the weight that we have of all these things. And for me, it is every time I'm pulling these cards and asking for it, I get these biblical messages of like, this is another way to interpret this. And so you were talking about the meeting. uh it's also something that came up for me in the meditation that you guided us through in going into this light. And I didn't realize how much I struggled with going into the light until after the meditation. Because anytime these meditations of going into the light happen, more often than not, I struggled going into the light. um so I just tell myself that I'm there even though I can't envision it. And so I just assume that because I've said that I've gone into it, I have, and I'm trusting that. But this was the first time that after the meditation that I thought, wow, I've struggled with that a lot, with actually going into the light. But what I finally did in this, just intuitively, without realizing it in that moment, was because I couldn't go into the light when you were telling us to go in. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go be the light and pull my body into it that way. And then I just pulled my body into the heart. This was new for me, um, into the heart of the light. So I'm just holding my body in there. But that was like the question that I had asked, because we were also supposed to ask a question, was how do I die for the sins of man? Because that had been on my mind. How do I interpret it? Um, and then that was the answer, is that I had already done it by changing my perspective of being that. Like, so the perspective is, you could, you could, the parallel would be, or another analogy would be like, instead of trying to get to the light, I am the light, right? So instead of trying to get to wealth, I am wealth, right? Instead of trying to get to my restored body, I am that, right? So that's how I die to the sins. But doing it for others is also, I change my mind about, say Elias wants to open that gym, right? And if there's anything in me that contradicts that, I've got to die to that. Like any ideas, because I'm looking at the opposite of, well, he doesn't have a gym. Well, it's only a thought. Well, it's only this and that. That now exists in me, and I'm contributing that energy to Elias's reality. But if I shift that, if I die to that and know that he already has the gym because he said this is what I'm gonna have, this is what I want. I'm clear about it. You know, so it's not like, I know it's a clear, solid desire. He's gonna do it. There's nothing in me that's gonna contradict that. I know he already has the gym, and that's how I've died. Any former self of me is gonna die to that manifestation that he is in me only that manifestation can exist. The end.
There you go. I think it's a lot about holding space. And I feel like that's just been our theme throughout this whole thing. It's just, can we hold the space? Can we clear the way? Can we die for something new to be made? Um,
That's how shift hits the fan.
yeah,
Is we hold
gotta
space for
clear
that
the,
shift.
gotta clear the space. Things have to die. And then we got into more conversations about dying, but
Yeah. That's that's
but
for
I think
another day.
that's for another day. Um, yeah, but I think sometimes we do have to just let things die inside of ourselves so that we can have something new be created, new for other people, new for ourselves. The thing that's making us suffer and that's really making the pain in our life, can we just let it die and keep going on and be in the moment of now, um, rather than the things of the past, which is hard because like I think there's also people that are suffering through a lot of really hard things right now. Um, but there's also the question, like, how often is that happening throughout the day? Which for a lot of people, how often is that one thing happening throughout the day? Can you bring ease into those other aspects of the day when that thing's not happening? And then for those who are suffering through a lot, then I don't really have things to talk to about that. um, but finding that sense of relativity, and that was a conversation I had with a friend recently, is that sense of relativity in life, um, that everything is relative from a certain point of view, a certain perspective, and can we bring that sense of relativity into ourselves to allow all things to be possible, to allow a perspective of pain and not pain, of healing and not healing, to bring in the whole of the existence into what is now, bringing in both the light and the dark, the nothing and the existence, allowing both to exist at the same time. And I think that goes back to this other thought that I had, that I've been circling around recently, of nothing. So the Tao Te Ching has a verse that says that um, that being is for benefit and nothing is for usefulness. And so going back to that concept of dying, sometimes we have to die and be nothing for the being to exist. We have to create that space again. And and I think there's such a beauty behind the depths, the darkness, the nothing, creating that space so that we can create a brighter light.
Now
And
did
not be blinded by the light.
you? Well, I was just thinking that when you're coming from the perspective of the light, can't be blinded.
Except for
And
by the darkness.
well, that's what the Tao Te Ching is also, that cleared that up for me as well. Because I keep going to know the light, but stick to the black, or to the dark. And I think it's the white, know the white, but stick to the black. Which if you're looking from the perspective of the light, you see black, right? Wherever you shine. I mean, it's in the peripheral. It's like if you're the sun, there's all this space around you, and you don't. It's like it's a knowing that you're the light. Um, the knowing is the part that really stood out to me. Uh, in that, once I finally got into this perspective of the light. Um, it's more of a visual. It's harder to explain, but yeah, it's the knowing. It's just like knowing that I am wealth, knowing that I have perfected my body or whatever. Knowing I'm that. That's what is knowing the light, but you're still looking out. There's only the darkness to look out to, from this perspective. And that's where you want to shine your light is, and what is it that's still maybe contradicting? What else can I improve on? What else can I bring light to? Because I am that light of lights.
Yeah. It reminds me of this practice that I used to do to heal my eyes. Um, so I would do what's called palming, and that's where you put your palms over your eyes and you just sit in darkness. And I would do this palming for however many minutes, and then I would take it off and let my eyes adjust to the light. And at first it was like so intense, and I would have to like squint, like couldn't be in the light because I was in the full sun daylight. Um, but eventually it would adjust and get back to normal. And then I would just repeat that back and forth. And it got to the point where I had trained my eyes to adjust to the light and the dark really fast. And it didn't have that issue. And it was really fun to have that ability to adjust from the light and the dark quickly. And I think muscle can be that same type of muscle can be found inside of our own lives, of finding that bright light inside of all things, inside of anything that's around us, but also being willing to be in the darkness, to be in the depths. And as we practice being in both the light and the dark, we find that ability to adjust and to flex and move and flow and find that, I don't know, just that movement between everything that's happening around us. And I think there's such a beauty to being able to do that.
I have no more thoughts. You have more thoughts on this? Feel like there's
I think
nothing.
that's good. So go be the shift, go create stuff, go manifest stuff,
Yeah.
and
Go be the
keep
stuff.
shifting. Go
Be
be
the
the stuff.
stuff. Be the change you want to see in your life.
Create it, and then go be it.
Yeah. Get clear on it. It's easier to create from clarity. And you're gonna get that clarity by being it. You know?
Yep. Embody it quickly. And sometimes be in the spiritual, and sometimes don't think about it. Just do it.
Yeah. It will tell you where to go.
Yep. Thanks, shifties. Go have a wonderful, wonderful life, wonderful day.
You are the shift. All right. Let the shift hit the fan. Let the shift hit the fan.